The rain tapped gently against the glass, each drop a quiet reminder of memories Anna had locked away. She sat by her bedroom window, wrapped in Ethan's old sweater, faded now from countless lonely nights. Jazz whispered softly from the vintage radio, blending into the evening's melancholy rhythm as she held her phone tightly. The message on her screen, words crafted carefully, explaining everything she'd left unsaid, glowed softly, illuminating her regret. Her thumb hovered uncertainly over the send button, pulse quickening at the thought of finally telling Ethan the truth. But fear, that quiet, familiar intruder, crept into her heart again, and with a sigh, Anna began erasing each word, letter, by painful letter. Have you ever found yourself caught between the truth you need to say and the silence you're too afraid to break? If you have, perhaps we're more alike than we know. Anna Walker lived in a quiet, weathered cottage beside the lake, nestled within a small town in coastal Maine, where life moved slowly, unhurriedly, like pages turning softly in an old book. Each morning, she walked along the same path to the red brick library, her heels clicking gently against cobblestones polished smooth by years of footsteps. Here, surrounded by faded covers and the comforting scent of paper, Anna found quiet solace among stories she could control, narratives she could safely close whenever reality felt too near. At 43, her life appeared peaceful, content, even, a gentle routine, tranquil days spent assisting patrons, sorting vintage novels, and sipping tea in Martha's cozy cafe next door. To everyone else, she was the calm, dependable librarian who listened patiently, smiled gently, and offered thoughtful recommendations. Yet beneath this serene facade, Anna was quietly haunted by the choice she'd made 8 years prior, when she silently walked away from Ethan Carter, the only man she'd ever truly loved. Her evenings were different, quieter, lonelier. Behind closed doors, in the solitude of her softly lit bedroom, Anna wrestled silently with regret. She filled journals with unsent letters and half-formed apologies, listened obsessively to jazz melodies that spoke to lost love and hidden sorrows, and whispered secrets to Gatsby, her old cat, who gazed back knowingly as if he understood everything. She couldn't express aloud. The cottage walls, decorated with vintage prints and antique mirrors, reflected not just her carefully curated taste, but also her longing for connection, a deeper intimacy she often felt incapable of receiving or giving. The small radio by her bed played softly each night, tuned permanently to a jazz station, its gentle hum a comforting presence in her otherwise solitary existence. Yet, despite the quiet ache that followed her every step, Anna had learned to mask her inner turmoil with practiced elegance, presenting herself as someone who'd accepted solitude by choice rather than circumstance. Still, when rainy evenings fell softly over her lakeside home, Anna couldn't help but wonder what might have been different had she stayed. Had she allowed Ethan to truly love her? Have you ever felt this quiet tug-of-war between your peaceful exterior and an inner world you struggle to silence? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you're willing to share. It was an unusually quiet Tuesday afternoon at the library when Anna decided to reorganize the old fiction section, a task she'd been meaning to tackle for weeks. Autumn sunlight filtered gently through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns over the shelves and creating a warm, golden glow that made even dust motes seem magical. Anna hummed quietly to herself as she carefully removed books from their ancient resting places, her fingers tracing lovingly over spines worn smooth by generations of readers. She had always found comfort in these quiet moments alone, sorting through stories that once captivated hearts and minds. But today, a vague restlessness pulled gently at her, a whisper of something undefined lingering at the edge of her thoughts. Pausing for a moment, Anna let her eyes drift across titles. Her fingers brushing softly along edges of pages turned brittle by time. She reached for a particularly old volume, a faded copy of Persuasion by Jane Austen, and smiled faintly, remembering it had always been one of Ethan's favorites. Without warning, something slipped from between its yellowed pages, fluttering gracefully to the floor. Anna bent down, heart fluttering inexplicably, as her eyes landed on a small envelope resting silently against the worn carpet. Her breath caught sharply as she recognized the handwriting immediately, its careful loops, unmistakably Ethan's, now slightly faded by years spent hidden away. A cold shiver passed through her, and the soft hum she'd been holding onto vanished instantly, replaced by the pulsing sound of blood rushing to her ears. For a long moment, Anna merely stared at the envelope, her mind grappling with a wave of emotions she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. The simple elegance of Ethan's handwriting, the gentle, deliberate way he had written her name, sent her tumbling headlong into a past she'd done her best to leave behind. She gingerly picked it up, the paper feeling fragile beneath her fingers, as though it held within it something infinitely precious yet heartbreakingly delicate. Taking a slow, steadying breath, Anna flipped the envelope over. There was no stamp, no address, only her name, Anna, softly written with such tenderness that it seemed to speak to her even now. She felt a tightening in her chest, a gentle ache that grew sharper with every second that passed. Her mind raced, questioning how something so significant had remained hidden within these pages, overlooked and undisturbed for so long. Had she herself placed it there, somehow forgotten, or had Ethan slipped it into the book unnoticed, hoping she'd one day find his words waiting patiently for her? Her curiosity battled fiercely with anxiety, hands trembling slightly as she considered tearing open the envelope immediately. Yet, something held her back, a cautious whisper reminding her that some truths, once known, could never be forgotten. With her heart hammering painfully, Anna gently tucked the letter into her pocket, its presence suddenly heavy, pressing insistently against her side. The quiet tranquility she'd felt earlier vanished, replaced by uncertainty that echoed with every beat of her heart. As footsteps approached the fiction section, Anna quickly straightened, smoothing her skirt and forcing a gentle smile to her lips. Sophie appeared around the corner, eyes bright and cheerful, her presence a stark contrast to Anna's sudden turmoil. "Need any help, Anna?" Sophie asked warmly, her innocent kindness almost bringing tears to Anna's eyes. "No, dear. I think I've managed," Anna replied softly, her voice carefully measured to hide the tremor beneath. She watched Sophie disappear again, her steps fading into silence, leaving Anna alone once more with the heavy secret hidden within her pocket. Leaning slightly against the bookshelf, she steadied herself, closing her eyes briefly as she silently wondered, how long had Ethan's words been waiting for her here, hidden patiently, quietly hoping to be discovered? That evening, Anna arrived home to her cottage just as twilight painted the sky in delicate shades of lavender and gray. The gentle sounds of Gatsby greeting her with a soft purr at the door usually brought warmth and comfort. But today she felt strangely distant, her thoughts lingering anxiously on the unopened letter tucked carefully inside her pocket. Even as she prepared dinner, a simple vegetable soup simmering softly on the stove, her mind kept drifting, whispering thoughts of Ethan, of their unfinished past and unanswered questions. After eating in quiet solitude, Anna retreated to her small bedroom, lit only by the soft amber glow of her bedside lamp. Sitting carefully on the edge of her bed, she reached for the envelope again, heart beating faster at the thought of finally knowing the truth Ethan had waited so patiently to share. Carefully sliding her finger beneath the sealed flap, she opened it gently, the soft rustle of paper loud in the silence of her room. Inside, a single sheet, folded neatly, rested. Anna unfolded the letter with careful reverence, her breath catching softly at the first glimpse of his familiar script. The date written at the top corner made her chest ache, for it was exactly 1 month after she'd silently walked away from his life, leaving Ethan without explanation. She took a steadying breath, beginning to read words she knew would change her forever. "Dearest Anna, I've started this letter a dozen times, searching for the perfect way to reach you. though deep down I know there's no perfect way to say goodbye, when the heart wishes only to stay. I don't know why you left, and perhaps I never will, but please know I've thought of nothing else since the day you vanished from my life. I write tonight, hoping against hope that perhaps you still think of me too. There's something I must tell you, something I've carried quietly for far too long. Anna, I was going to ask you to marry me. The words were always there, waiting patiently behind every conversation we shared, every laugh, every quiet moment we spent together. Yet somehow, I always convinced myself tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow I'd be brave enough. But then tomorrow became a day you weren't there anymore, and my courage, like you, disappeared quietly, without a trace. If you ever read these words, please understand. I loved you then. I love you still. And I forgive you. Whatever your reason, whatever silence you've chosen, I accept it. But please know that my heart waits here, not expecting your return, but longing always for your happiness, wherever it may find you. Anna's fingers trembled visibly, eyes blurred by tears she hadn't realized she'd been holding back. The depth of Ethan's quiet pain and endless compassion seeped through every word, filling her heart with both gratitude and deep regret. She pressed the letter gently to her chest, closing her eyes as if to imprint his words permanently upon her heart. That moment, her life, carefully balanced and quietly maintained over the past 8 years, tilted suddenly and irreversibly. Ethan's quiet revelation had unearthed truths she'd buried deeply, forcing her to confront memories she'd long hidden beneath layers of practiced serenity and silent solitude. Unable to move, Anna stayed motionless, her heart racing with newfound clarity. All these years, she'd convinced herself that her silence protected Ethan from pain. Yet now she understood it had only deepened the wounds between them. Her choice had deprived them both of honesty, of closure, and perhaps even of happiness itself. The gentle tick of the clock beside her bed brought her slowly back to the present, the soft sound grounding her. With careful resolve, Anna stood, placing Ethan's letter gently into her bedside drawer, safe, hidden, but no longer forgotten. As she slipped quietly beneath the covers, a newfound determination rose within her, mingled softly with fear and hope. The life she'd built on quiet denial was now challenged by the gentle yet relentless truth of Ethan's words. Closing her eyes, she whispered softly into the stillness of her bedroom, addressing Ethan's heart even though he couldn't hear her. I am so sorry, Ethan. If only you knew how much your forgiveness means to me. Have you ever discovered a truth from your past that changed everything in an instant? Perhaps sometimes the past returns not to haunt us, but to heal us. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments, if you're willing to share them with me. Anna woke the next morning feeling unusually drained, her sleep having been punctuated by restless dreams and hazy fragments of memories long suppressed. The soft light of dawn filtered through thin curtains, gently illuminating the quiet bedroom, yet offering little comfort to the quiet storm now stirring within her. She rose slowly, feeling oddly disconnected from her familiar surroundings, her usual sense of calm slipping quietly away. Throughout her morning routine, feeding Gatsby, brewing tea, straightening cushions, she moved as if on autopilot, her thoughts repeatedly drifting to Ethan's heartfelt words, etched deeply into her memory. The letters seemed to speak louder in her silence, resonating gently with every beat of her heart, each carefully chosen phrase haunting her as vividly as the moment she'd first read them. Anna felt profoundly exposed, as though Ethan had reached, across time itself, to touch the most vulnerable part of her soul. Unable to concentrate on her normal tasks, Anna returned to the letter once more, retrieving it carefully from the drawer and sitting quietly by her bedroom window. With steadying breaths, she unfolded the pages again, feeling their weight, an emotional gravity stronger than she'd anticipated. Her eyes returned immediately to the delicate lines where Ethan had revealed his intentions. The gentle proposal he'd intended but never voiced. "I was going to ask you to marry me." This simple yet powerful confession held her gaze unwaveringly, its honesty striking sharply against the fragile barriers she'd erected around her heart. Anna's breath came unevenly, her fingers gripping the edges of the paper more tightly, as she allowed herself, finally, to fully imagine that moment. The moment Ethan had planned but never experienced, the words he had so carefully rehearsed but had never gotten to speak aloud. In vivid detail, her memory carried her back to the quiet autumn evening shortly before she'd left him, a night they'd spent sharing stories and laughter beneath a sky softly illuminated by distant stars. Ethan had seemed quieter than usual, his eyes holding hers gently, yet deeply, as though silently attempting to communicate something profoundly meaningful. She'd noticed but had quietly dismissed his silence as mere fatigue, a trivial detail easily forgotten. Yet now, with the revelation held between her hands, Anna realized the enormity of that missed opportunity, of Ethan's bravery met only by her unintended dismissal. Tears welled softly in her eyes as she imagined him, alone in the days following her silent departure, heart heavy with unspoken words, hopes he'd carefully nurtured now shattered by her inexplicable absence. The thought of his quiet disappointment filled her with profound sadness and deep regret, emotions she'd skillfully avoided confronting until this moment. Slowly, gently, Anna traced her fingers over Ethan's written words, each loop and curve of his handwriting connecting her profoundly to the man she'd loved and left behind. She could sense the quiet, gentle courage he'd summoned to write this letter, to offer forgiveness and compassion despite his own confusion and pain. Anna found herself humbled by his strength, wishing desperately that she'd been capable of similar bravery all those years ago. As sunlight filled her room more brightly, Anna felt the weight of her choices pressing heavily against her chest, regret mingling softly with gratitude. Ethan's letter had shaken her carefully maintained equilibrium, forcing her to see clearly what she'd once chosen not to acknowledge, the depth of his love, the sincerity of his intentions, and her own unwillingness to confront truths that had scared her deeply. In the silence of her quiet bedroom, Anna recognized a turning point had quietly emerged, brought forth by Ethan's hidden words, long buried and patiently waiting. Her quiet routine, carefully constructed around denial and silence, would never feel quite the same again, for now she knew exactly what she'd given up and exactly what she had lost. Taking a deep breath, Anna carefully folded the letter once more, pressing it gently against her heart as if absorbing its truth directly into her soul. With quiet resolve, she finally whispered aloud to the empty room, her voice filled with fragile honesty. "If only I'd been brave enough, Ethan. If only..." For the next few days, Anna carried Ethan's letter quietly within her thoughts, its words echoing gently in each silent moment she spent alone. The library, usually her haven of tranquility, now felt strangely unfamiliar, as if its peaceful silence had somehow turned against her, becoming a constant reminder of the truths she'd kept, hidden from herself. Even Martha's gentle conversation over coffee failed to distract her. Anna would smile softly, nod politely, but her thoughts remained elsewhere, tangled in Ethan's heartfelt admission, her heart lingering stubbornly in the past. Yet within this quiet upheaval, something curious began to shift inside Anna. Where once she'd accepted solitude as her quiet companion, she now felt a subtle, persistent longing for honesty, a gentle yet unmistakable desire to confront truths she'd spent years skillfully avoiding. Ethan's vulnerability, expressed so beautifully in his letter, had softly reignited something within her. A flicker of courage, fragile and uncertain, but undeniably present. One evening after work, Anna sat in her cottage by the lake, wrapped snugly in Ethan's old sweater as she watched evening shadows dance gently across the water's surface. Gatsby lay curled at her feet, his steady purring a comforting presence amidst her internal chaos. Anna's thoughts drifted quietly, contemplating Ethan's silent strength, his capacity to forgive even without explanation. She realized, perhaps for the first time, that in running away from love all those years ago, she had also run from herself, from facing fears deeply rooted within her own heart. As darkness enveloped the cottage, Anna reached for her journal, her fingers trembling slightly as she began to write, allowing her emotions to pour forth openly onto the blank page for the first time in many years. Her words flowed quietly but steadily, revealing to herself truths long hidden beneath layers of careful silence. She wrote of her fears, of inadequacy, of losing love once more, of being vulnerable again. And above all, she wrote honestly of Ethan, admitting finally how deeply she had loved him, even in the very moment she had chosen to leave. Hours passed, softly, unnoticed, until Anna finally closed her journal, feeling strangely lighter, though profoundly weary. Her reflections had unearthed difficult truths, yet she sensed that acknowledging them was the first step toward healing the wounds she'd silently carried. And in that quiet admission, Anna began to see a path forward, uncertain, yet quietly hopeful. The following morning, as she organized the library shelves, she found herself pausing by the same spot where Ethan's letter had been hidden, her fingers lingering briefly on the worn spine of Austen's Persuasion. She gently smiled to herself, recognizing the irony of the book's title, realizing that Ethan, much like the steadfast Captain Wentworth, had quietly endured years of silent love, waiting patiently, offering forgiveness even in the absence of an explanation. Maybe, Anna whispered softly to herself, her voice barely audible above the gentle rustling of pages. It's not too late to find my own courage. She felt a gentle, reassuring warmth fill her heart, a fragile yet persistent hope. And though she didn't yet know exactly what form her courage might take, Anna understood clearly that something had shifted irrevocably inside her, sparked by Ethan's long-hidden truth. Later that evening, beneath the comforting hum of jazz softly emanating from her radio, Anna found herself once more holding her phone, her heart thumping quietly but steadily. She hesitated, then slowly typed a new message, simpler, braver than before. Ethan, I've finally read your letter. I don't know how to begin, but I need you to know. I'm sorry, and thank you. Her thumb hovered uncertainly above the send button. But this time, Anna drew strength from Ethan's quiet bravery, and taking a steadying breath, she pressed send. Her heart raced briefly, then slowly calmed, filled with a sense of quiet pride and gentle relief, realizing she'd taken the first genuine step toward reconciling with her past. Outside, rain began softly tapping against the window. Each drop, a gentle echo of the emotions she'd finally allowed herself to acknowledge. Leaning back into the warmth of her chair, Anna let herself quietly wonder about Ethan's response, knowing only that she'd begun to speak her truth, no matter how uncertain or imperfect it might be. Have you ever held on to words you knew you needed to say, only to finally release them years later? I'd love to hear your story. Perhaps together, we can find the courage we all quietly seek. She never expected the truth would begin with that hidden letter, tucked quietly between forgotten pages waiting patiently to be found. After pressing send, Anna set her phone down gently, her heart pounding softly yet steadily, an unfamiliar courage pulsing through her veins. She sank back into her favorite armchair, pulling Ethan's old sweater tighter around her shoulders, as she listened to rain tapping quietly against the windows. Gatsby stretched lazily nearby, seeming to sense the quiet shift in Anna's mood, his golden eyes watching her attentively. In that gentle, silent moment, Anna allowed herself to feel hope, not fully formed, but fragile, uncertain, and undeniably present. The days following her message to Ethan passed in a blur of anticipation and quiet reflection. Though Ethan hadn't replied immediately, Anna didn't feel unsettled or impatient, for she understood deeply that her simple message had already begun to rewrite their story in some small yet meaningful way. Instead, she allowed herself to live in quiet acceptance, moving through her days at the library with newfound softness, greeting patrons and tending bookshelves with gentle warmth, each interaction subtly infused by her quiet sense of possibility. 1. Afternoon, while Anna sorted new arrivals at the library, Sophie approached quietly, her youthful energy a bright contrast to Anna's contemplative mood. "Anna," Sophie began hesitantly, eyes wide with genuine curiosity, "you've seemed different lately. Is everything all right?" Anna paused, considering the sincerity of Sophie's concern, and offered a gentle smile. "Different?" she echoed softly, thinking carefully about how to respond. "I suppose I have been a bit distracted lately." Sophie leaned closer, her voice dropping conspiratorially. "Is it about someone special?" The innocent question struck softly at Anna's heart, and she laughed. Quietly, a warmth spreading gently across her cheeks. "You have good instincts, Sophie," she admitted, her voice carrying quiet tenderness. "It is about someone special, someone from a long time ago." Sophie's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she settled comfortably onto a stool, eager to listen. Anna found herself opening up slowly, carefully sharing the gentle contours of her past with Ethan, her voice low, thoughtful, as memories flowed quietly between them. Sophie listened with bright eyes, quietly respectful, sensing the weight of each word. "I ran from someone who loved me deeply," Anna confessed softly, surprising herself with the depth of her honesty. "At the time, I believed leaving quietly was kinder. Now, I understand silence can sometimes hurt more than honesty." Sophie nodded thoughtfully, clearly moved. "Do you think it's too late for you and Ethan?" Anna paused, absorbing the gentle directness of the question. "Perhaps it is," she replied quietly, a hint of sadness coloring her voice. "But perhaps not. Either way, I'm finally facing the truth I've hidden from for far too long." Later that evening, Anna visited Martha's cafe, seeking the familiar warmth of her friend's gentle wisdom. Martha greeted her affectionately, pouring a fresh cup of coffee without asking. "Anna?" Martha began, sitting across from her, eyes filled with quiet curiosity. "There's something different in you, something softer, maybe stronger." Anna sighed softly, a gentle smile touching her lips. "I've finally done something I've avoided for years, Martha. I reached out to Ethan." Martha's eyes widened slightly, but her expression softened immediately, a quiet understanding passing between them. "How does it feel?" "Frightening," Anna admitted honestly, cradling her coffee cup in her hands, feeling its comforting warmth. "But also freeing. For years, I told myself silence was safer. Now, I'm beginning to understand it was only safer for my fears, not for my heart." Martha leaned closer, offering Anna's hand a gentle squeeze. "Sometimes we carry burdens far heavier than necessary, simply because we're afraid to share them. I'm proud of you, Anna. You've always been stronger than you believe." Anna absorbed Martha's words quietly, feeling strengthened by her friend's unwavering belief. "Thank you, Martha," she whispered softly, her voice filled with gratitude. For everything, walking home later that night, beneath softly glowing street lamps, Anna reflected deeply on her conversations with Sophie and Martha. Each encounter had gently encouraged her toward courage, reminding her softly that vulnerability could also mean strength. Her heart felt lighter, quietly reassured by the kindness of those around her, and she found herself quietly anticipating Ethan's eventual response, whatever it might bring. Have you ever reached a moment when silence was no longer enough, when you needed your truth to be heard? I'd love to hear your thoughts below. The following Saturday morning arrived quietly, bringing with it the comforting warmth of sunlight gently filtering through leaves that had begun turning gold and amber with the changing season. Anna stood by her kitchen window, sipping tea slowly, eyes resting thoughtfully on the lake's calm surface, reflecting the peaceful morning sky. As she contemplated the gentle shifts occurring within her heart, she found herself yearning deeply for Olivia's familiar presence and comforting perspective. Anna and Olivia had grown up together in this same small town, sharing countless whispered secrets beneath moonlit skies and passing notes silently between desks at school. Olivia had always been the braver of the two, openly embracing life's uncertainties, gently encouraging Anna toward adventures she'd otherwise quietly avoid. Anna knew instinctively that Olivia, with her quiet wisdom and gentle encouragement, was exactly who she needed now to help guide her through the uncertain terrain that lay ahead. Anna reached for her phone, dialing Olivia's number with quiet anticipation, heart warming instantly at the sound of her friend's cheerful greeting. "Anna." "What a lovely surprise," Olivia exclaimed softly, genuine warmth radiating through her voice. "It feels like ages since we've spoken." "Far too long," Anna agreed gently, feeling immediately comforted. "Liv, can we meet at the cafe? There's something I'd like your advice on." 20 minutes later, they embraced warmly outside Martha's cafe, Olivia smiling warmly as she regarded Anna with curiosity. They settled comfortably at their favorite corner table, sipping coffee as sunlight bathed the cafe's interior in soft, golden tones. "Tell me everything?" Olivia prompted gently, eyes kind yet searching. "You seem different, Anna, like you're carrying something important." Anna took a deep breath, feeling reassured by Olivia's calm presence. "It's about Ethan," she began softly, voice catching slightly on his name. "I found a letter he wrote me years ago. A letter I never received until now." Olivia's eyes widened slightly, her expression softening instantly into gentle understanding. "Oh, Anna, that must have been so difficult." "It was," Anna admitted quietly, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "It contained everything he wanted to tell me: his forgiveness, his unanswered proposal, and his unwavering love." Olivia sat quietly, absorbing the gentle magnitude of Anna's revelation. How did it feel reading it now, after all these years? Anna met Olivia's eyes with quiet honesty, like finally hearing the truth I never allowed myself to face. "I've carried silence for so long, Liv, thinking it was protecting us both. But the truth is, I was only protecting myself, from my fears, from confronting my own pain." Olivia reached across the table, gently squeezing Anna's hand. "It's brave of you to finally see that, Anna. But tell me, why are you still so afraid?" Anna sighed softly, her heart suddenly vulnerable, yet trusting completely in her friend. "I'm afraid it's too late. Afraid I've missed my chance. Afraid my truth might come at the cost of Ethan's peace. How can I justify disrupting his life now, after all these years?" Olivia regarded Anna thoughtfully, her voice gently reassuring. "Perhaps the real disruption was never your truth, Anna, but your silence. Maybe your silence is the wound Ethan needs healed, just as much as you." Anna felt her heart clench gently, tears softly filling her eyes at Olivia's quiet insight. "You always see things I can't, Liv," she whispered, deeply grateful. "But what if he's moved on, found happiness elsewhere? What if my reaching out only brings him pain?" Olivia leaned forward slightly, voice soft yet firm. "Anna, you've spent years hiding behind those fears, quietly denying yourself honesty, love, and closure. Ethan's response, whatever it might be, will finally let you both heal properly. You owe it to yourself, and to him, to see this through." Anna nodded slowly, absorbing Olivia's words. feeling quietly emboldened by her friend's gentle strength. They sat together quietly, the cafe buzzing softly around them. Anna slowly feeling a new sense of resolve settling within her heart. "You and no, Liv." Anna finally spoke softly, eyes filled with newfound clarity. "I think you're right. I've hidden long enough. I want to face this honestly, even if it scares me deeply." Olivia smiled warmly, eyes gentle with pride. "Anna, the bravest. Journeys always start with acknowledging our deepest fears. You're finally ready." As Anna walked home later beneath the golden afternoon sun, Olivia's gentle encouragement echoed softly within her heart, reaffirming the quiet courage she'd begun to embrace. With each step, she felt more certain that honesty, no matter how daunting, was far kinder than silence. Have you ever confided in someone and found strength in their gentle wisdom? I'd love for you to share your story. Perhaps together, we can inspire each other toward greater courage. As Anna returned to her quiet cottage by the lake that evening, she found herself moving slowly, as though her heart carried a newfound weight, both delicate and comforting. The gentle encouragement from Olivia had stirred something deeply buried within her, nudging memories she'd long tried to forget, allowing them softly back into the quiet spaces of her heart. Entering her home, she closed the door quietly, pausing to rest her head briefly against its cool surface, breathing steadily as her thoughts began to wander back through the years, returning gently to Ethan. The first memory surfaced softly, bringing Anna back to a crisp autumn evening nearly a decade ago, when she'd met Ethan for their usual evening stroll. The leaves had already turned brilliant shades of gold and crimson, and as they'd walked beneath softly rustling trees, their footsteps crunching lightly against the fallen leaves, Ethan had stopped suddenly, gently taking Anna's hand in his own. "Anna," he'd said quietly, eyes warm and earnest in the soft twilight. "Have I ever told you how grateful I am to share moments like this with you?" Anna had smiled softly, heart quickening at the sincerity in his voice. She remembered vividly how his touch had warmed her, reassuring her quietly of his steady affection. "Not in so many words," she'd replied gently, squeezing his hand softly, feeling quietly content beside him. "Then let me say it now," Ethan had whispered softly, pulling her closer beneath the gentle glow of twilight. "I don't take these moments for granted. Being with you makes everything else fade away, leaving only peace." Anna's heart ached gently now, recalling the tenderness of that moment, understanding clearly that Ethan had quietly offered his heart then, waiting patiently for her to fully accept it. Yet, even amidst the sweetness of the memory, she felt the quiet sting of regret, knowing she'd unknowingly withheld a part of herself, quietly guarded by fear. Another memory soon followed, equally gentle yet marked with quiet sorrow. An evening they'd spent together curled up on Anna's couch, the cottage warmed by firelight, jazz playing softly in the background. Ethan had held Anna close, absent-mindedly stroking her hair, his eyes quietly thoughtful as he'd asked gently, "Do you ever think about our future, Anna? What it might look like?" Anna recalled the quiet panic she'd felt in that moment, her heart tightening suddenly with fears she'd never voiced aloud. Rather than share her uncertainty, she'd smiled softly, deflecting his gentle question with humor. "Of course," she'd teased lightly, eyes twinkling playfully. "I imagine Gatsby still ruling our lives, and perhaps even a bigger bookshelf." Ethan had laughed softly, accepting her gentle deflection with grace. Yet Anna now understood clearly the quiet hurt he'd hidden, the questions he'd softly swallowed, leaving them both quietly suspended in uncertainty. She now wished deeply she'd had the courage to speak honestly, to acknowledge both her fears and desires openly, knowing now how much Ethan had needed her quiet reassurance. As Anna moved quietly through her cottage, these gentle yet bittersweet memories continuing to surface, she found herself finally allowing tears she'd long withheld to fall quietly. cleansing wounds she'd silently carried for years. She understood now how silence, though seeming protective, had created distance, gently eroding the trust Ethan had placed so patiently in her hands. Sitting quietly by the window, Anna wrapped herself tightly in Ethan's old sweater once more, feeling its softness comfort her gently as she whispered aloud into the quiet night. "I'm so sorry, Ethan, for all the words I kept inside, for all the truths I was too afraid to voice." With each memory she allowed herself to revisit, Anna felt a quiet strength gently taking root within her heart, nurtured by honesty she'd long denied herself. And as the moon rose softly over the lake, illuminating her quiet reflection, Anna knew clearly that her journey toward healing had truly begun, gently guided by memories she once feared. In that quiet, vulnerable moment, Anna understood deeply that to fully heal, she must finally embrace her truths without fear. She would no longer hide within the safety of silence. Instead, she would gently and bravely reach toward the uncertain yet promising future ahead. Have you ever revisited your past memories, finding clarity in moments you once misunderstood? I'd love to hear your stories below. Perhaps together, we can learn to heal quietly but courageously. Several evenings later, Anna sat curled comfortably on her sofa, Gatsby sleeping contentedly beside her, the cottage softly illuminated by lamplight. A gentle jazz melody played quietly on the radio, soothing her restless heart as she reread Ethan's letter for perhaps the 10th time, drawing quiet strength from his patient, heartfelt words. As she folded the letter carefully, placing it gently back into the drawer, her phone chimed softly, startling her gently from her reverie. Heart racing softly, Anna picked up the phone, her breath catching quietly as Ethan's name appeared on the screen. A message, a response she'd both anticipated and quietly feared, had finally arrived. Taking a steadying breath, she opened it carefully, her fingers trembling gently with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Ethan's words were simple, gentle, and heartfelt. "Anna, your message meant more to me than you might ever know. Thank you for finally reaching out. If you're comfortable, perhaps we could meet at the cafe. No expectations, just honesty. If not, I understand completely. All I truly want is your peace." Anna exhaled quietly, feeling suddenly overwhelmed yet profoundly comforted by Ethan's quiet understanding and enduring compassion. Tears softly filled her eyes as she read his words again, touched deeply by his gentle offer, devoid of pressure, filled only with kindness and quiet respect for her feelings. She realized clearly in that quiet moment how deeply she'd missed Ethan's steady, gentle presence, how much she'd longed for exactly the calm reassurance his simple words provided. Yet beneath her quiet relief stirred familiar doubts, gently tugging at the corners of her mind. Anna understood clearly that accepting Ethan's invitation meant stepping fully into vulnerability, surrendering the careful solitude she'd spent years quietly maintaining. Could she risk disturbing the fragile peace she'd built, exchanging the quiet safety of solitude for an uncertain future guided only by honesty? Anna rose quietly, pacing gently through her cottage, heart and mind quietly wrestling with uncertainty. Ethan's gentle proposal, no expectations, just honesty, represented exactly what she'd long needed, yet quietly avoided. She paused by the window, gazing quietly out at the lake, moonlight shimmering softly on its tranquil surface. Her thoughts drifted gently, recalling Olivia's wise words, Sophie's earnest encouragement, and Martha's quiet reassurance. Each gentle conversation echoed softly within her, quietly strengthening her courage, reminding her tenderly that honesty, no matter how vulnerable, was her true path forward. In her quiet reflection, Anna realized clearly that the safety she'd chosen had quietly confined her heart for far too long. Her careful solitude, though familiar, had gently numbed her ability to fully embrace life's complexities, its gentle uncertainties. Ethan's simple yet powerful invitation offered her not just reconciliation, but also liberation. A quiet, courageous step toward finally reclaiming herself, free from the fears she'd silently carried. Taking a deep breath, Anna returned to her phone, gently typing a response with newfound courage. "Ethan, I'd love to meet. Honesty is exactly what I've been quietly seeking all along. Thank you for everything." She pressed send, gently yet firmly, her heart racing quietly with tender resolve, feeling suddenly lighter, more hopeful than she had in years. As she sank back onto her sofa, Gatsby stirred slightly, offering her quiet reassurance with his gentle, familiar warmth. Anna knew clearly in that quiet moment that she'd finally chosen courage over fear, honesty over silence, trusting softly yet fully in the quiet strength she'd discovered within herself. She understood that meeting Ethan wouldn't guarantee easy answers or immediate comfort. Rather, it represented something deeper, her gentle willingness to confront her fears openly, to heal openly, to embrace truths she'd quietly hidden from herself for far too long. As the soft jazz melody continued gently filling the room, Anna felt quietly grateful for the journey she'd embarked upon, knowing fully that whatever awaited her at the cafe would bring her closer to the peace she'd long sought. No matter the outcome, her heart had quietly begun to heal, guided softly yet courageously by honesty. And you? Have you ever faced a moment of gentle bravery, choosing uncertain honesty over comforting silence? Please share your story. I truly believe our courage quietly strengthens one another. Anna knew now more clearly than ever that sometimes the truths we fear most are the ones that softly lead us home. Anna approached Martha's cafe slowly, heart beating gently but insistently, palms slightly damp despite the cool autumn air. Soft jazz melodies drifted faintly from within, mingling softly with the gentle hum of conversations and the distant aroma of freshly brewed coffee. She paused quietly outside, peering through the cafe window, eyes searching carefully until she finally glimpsed Ethan, sitting patiently at their old familiar table, quietly gazing out at the street, expression gentle yet thoughtful. Seeing Ethan, after so many years, his familiar face, the quiet warmth in his gentle eyes, now touched by subtle lines of age and wisdom, made her breath catch softly in her throat. For a brief moment, Anna hesitated, doubts whispering quietly at the edge of her mind, yet she drew quiet strength from the gentle reassurance of Ethan's presence, reminding herself softly why she'd come: honesty, healing, and perhaps a chance at forgiveness. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Anna stepped into the cafe, the soft bell above the door chiming gently, announcing her arrival. Ethan's gaze lifted immediately, eyes meeting hers gently, yet unmistakably, filled quietly with warmth, relief, and perhaps the same quiet uncertainty she herself felt. He rose slowly, waiting patiently as Anna approached, then greeted her quietly, his voice gentle and comforting as ever. "Anna," Ethan said softly, a small, genuine smile touching his lips. "I'm so glad you're here." His simple, honest greeting instantly eased the quiet tension she'd been carrying, reminding her gently that Ethan's kindness had always been a safe harbor for her heart. Anna managed a soft, grateful smile, feeling her voice catch slightly as she replied, "Thank you for meeting me, Ethan. It means a great deal." As they sat down, a gentle silence settled briefly between them, comfortable yet charged with unspoken thoughts and carefully guarded feelings. Anna studied Ethan quietly, noticing small changes, the gentle streaks of gray in his dark hair, the subtle strength in his quiet expression. Yet beneath these outward differences, she recognized clearly the man she had once quietly loved and never truly forgotten. The waitress brought their coffees, a soft distraction allowing both of them to gather their thoughts. Ethan gently stirred sugar into his cup, looking up carefully after a moment. voice gentle yet curious. "How have you truly been, Anna? After all this time, how has life treated you?" Anna hesitated quietly, gently tracing the rim of her cup with her fingertip, gathering courage to finally speak her truth. "Life has been quiet," she began softly, choosing her words carefully. "Safe, predictable, but perhaps too guarded. Ethan, I've built my days around routines and solitude, believing it was what I needed, what I deserved after walking away." Ethan regarded her thoughtfully, his quiet eyes reflecting gentle understanding, silently urging her to continue. "Until recently," Anna continued, heart gently racing as her truth finally took shape, "I didn't realize how much silence had cost me. Reading your letter, the one I found hidden in that book, it changed something within me, Ethan. I finally understood how my choice to leave quietly, without explanation, was meant to protect me more than you." Ethan remained quiet for a moment, absorbing her words carefully. Finally, he spoke gently, voice tinged softly with sadness. "Anna, the silence was difficult. I spent years quietly questioning myself, wondering what I'd done wrong, what I could have done differently." Anna's eyes filled softly with tears, her voice catching gently as she quickly reassured him. "You did nothing wrong, Ethan. Please, please know that." He nodded softly, eyes gentle and patient, silently encouraging her to finally share her deepest truth. "Then, Anna, tell me why. Why did you leave so suddenly, without ever explaining?" Anna exhaled softly, heart tightening quietly with vulnerability, yet determined to offer Ethan the honesty he'd quietly waited for all these years. "Because, Ethan," she whispered gently, voice trembling softly yet bravely, "I didn't believe I deserved your love. After my divorce, I carried wounds deeper than I let you see, scars I was ashamed of, fears of failing again, fears of hurting you. Leaving felt like sparing you from pain I couldn't avoid causing." She paused softly, gently wiping away tears that quietly escaped. "I thought my silence would set you free, protect you. But I've realized now how wrong I was, how unfair it was. To you, to both of us." Ethan regarded her quietly, expression gentle yet deeply affected by her honesty, his voice soft, comforting yet filled quietly with emotion. "Anna, I wish you'd trusted me enough to share those fears. Love doesn't need perfection, only honesty. I would have walked through that darkness with you, patiently and willingly." Anna nodded quietly, heart aching softly at his gentle words. "I know that now, Ethan, and I'm deeply sorry for leaving, for silence, for the pain my fears quietly inflicted upon you." A gentle silence settled once more between them, both quietly processing the truth Anna had finally shared openly. In Ethan's eyes, Anna saw quiet acceptance and gentle forgiveness, emotions she'd feared might be impossible after so many years apart. "Thank you," Ethan finally spoke softly, breaking the quiet, his voice tender yet steady, "for finally telling me. Your honesty means more to me than you'll ever know." Anna felt gently reassured by his quiet forgiveness, her heart filling softly with gratitude and relief. Yet, beneath her quiet relief lingered uncertainty, quietly aware that honesty alone might not be enough to fully heal their past. Ethan's gentle gaze remained thoughtfully fixed on Anna, quietly absorbing the honesty she'd offered him, the tenderness in his expression giving Anna quiet reassurance, yet she sensed within him a subtle complexity, a lingering sadness that gently clouded his eyes, a silent reflection of pain he'd carried quietly through the years. Anna felt her heart ache softly, knowing clearly how deeply she'd unintentionally wounded him, how her silence had quietly shaped the man sitting patiently before her. After a gentle pause, Ethan exhaled quietly, eyes soft yet quietly resolute. "Anna," he spoke carefully, voice gentle yet edged with quiet emotion. There's something else you need to know. Something I've carried quietly, too. Anna felt a quiet apprehension stir within her chest, her voice gently trembling as she nodded, softly encouraging him to continue. Tell me, Ethan. Please. He hesitated briefly, his gentle expression growing quietly solemn. After you left, Anna, I spent years quietly struggling, not just with your absence, but also with my own sense of worth. Your silence left questions that haunted me. Was I enough? Did I deserve love? It took me a long time, perhaps too long, to understand that love isn't measured by how someone leaves us, but by how deeply they affect us. Anna's heart clenched gently, tears softly filling her eyes again, realizing clearly for the first time the quiet depth of Ethan's internal struggle, how closely his fears had mirrored her own. Ethan, I never intended— I know, Ethan gently interrupted, eyes softening immediately, quiet compassion filling his voice. You meant no harm, but silence has a way of leaving deep scars, Anna. Scars hidden quietly beneath the surface. Still, I'm grateful you've finally chosen honesty. It means a great deal to me. Anna nodded quietly, absorbing the quiet truth of his words, realizing fully how intertwined their quiet suffering had become. They'd both quietly carried pain, each believing it was their burden alone to bear, unaware their silence had quietly deepened wounds rather than protecting each other. Gently reaching across the table, Anna hesitated briefly before softly placing her hand atop Ethan's, feeling his warmth reassure her quietly yet powerfully. Ethan's gaze softened immediately, accepting her gentle touch with quiet gratitude, silently acknowledging the careful vulnerability between them. Ethan, Anna whispered gently, voice filled softly with quiet sincerity. I can't change what happened, nor take back the silence I chose. But I can promise you this. I'm here now, fully present, ready to face whatever truths we must share to finally heal. If you'll allow me, I want to try and repair the wounds I caused. Not just for you, but for both of us. Ethan regarded her thoughtfully, a quiet tenderness gently returning to his expression, offering Anna quiet hope. Healing takes time, Anna, he replied gently, voice quietly measured. But I'm willing to try, to trust honesty over silence this time. Anna felt quietly reassured, heart swelling gently with gratitude for Ethan's quiet willingness to forgive, to trust, despite the deep wounds they'd both carried silently for years. She recognized clearly the courage he displayed, matching her own gentle bravery step for step. As they sat quietly together, the gentle hum of the cafe softly surrounding them, Anna finally allowed herself a quiet smile. A genuine, gentle smile, born of hope, healing, and newfound honesty. Ethan's quiet presence beside her offered silent reassurance that whatever lay ahead, they would face it gently, openly, and together. Yet, despite this gentle sense of promise, Anna felt clearly, within her heart, the quiet weight of lost years, the silent regret for pain inflicted unintentionally through silence. Even in the warmth of their quiet reconciliation, a gentle sadness lingered softly between them, a subtle acknowledgement that forgiveness and honesty alone couldn't erase entirely the years they'd spent quietly apart. When they finally rose to leave, Ethan gently guided Anna toward the door, pausing quietly to meet her gaze once more. Anna, he began softly, eyes gentle yet earnest. Whatever comes next, thank you. For today, for your honesty, for coming back even after so long. Anna smiled softly, heart warmed quietly by his sincerity, yet she couldn't escape the gentle ache in knowing clearly that the past remained gently but persistently alive between them. Thank you, Ethan, for your kindness, your patience, your forgiveness. I don't know exactly what our future holds, but I'm grateful we're finally facing it honestly. As Ethan gently squeezed her hand in quiet farewell, Anna watched him walk, slowly away, her heart quietly wrestling with hope and sorrow intertwined. Standing alone outside the cafe, she felt clearly the delicate tension of their reunion. A gentle promise mingled with soft uncertainty, healing gently unfolding even amidst the quiet acknowledgement of past pain. Turning toward home, Anna walked, quietly beneath the soft glow of street lamps, her thoughts gently reflecting on the journey she'd bravely undertaken. Ethan's gentle courage had matched her own step for step, yet she knew clearly their shared wounds would take more than one honest conversation to fully heal. The gentle night enveloped her quietly, Anna's heart softly echoing with questions unanswered yet gently hopeful for what lay ahead. Though her path forward remained quietly uncertain, she knew clearly that she'd chosen honesty over silence, vulnerability over safety. A gentle yet powerful decision she'd carry softly, courageously into whatever awaited her next. Have you ever faced a moment where honesty healed wounds you didn't even realize you carried? Please share your story. Perhaps together, we can find courage in vulnerability. Anna's footsteps felt heavier than ever as she quietly approached her cottage beneath the gentle silver glow of moonlight. The earlier warmth of the cafe and Ethan's quiet presence now felt achingly distant, replaced by the cold silence of the evening and the soft, lingering shadows of regret. Each step toward home seemed to pull her deeper into a quiet turmoil, an inner conflict that gently tore at the very core of her heart. Stepping softly inside, Anna closed the door carefully. Behind her, pausing quietly in the entranceway, letting the profound silence of her home envelop her, she stood motionless, eyes drifting slowly over familiar surroundings now strangely foreign, as though seeing clearly for the first time the emptiness she had quietly cultivated through years of solitude. Ethan's gentle honesty echoed persistently in her thoughts, intensifying the quiet ache now firmly lodged within her chest. She moved slowly toward the living room, the soft light of a single lamp casting gentle, melancholic shadows across walls lined carefully with memories, photos of moments frozen quietly in time, shelves filled with books she'd read alone, cushions gently arranged for comfort but rarely shared. Her gaze settled softly upon a small framed picture of herself and Ethan, a quiet snapshot taken years before. Two faces smiling gently yet cautiously, unaware of the quiet storm of silence awaiting them. Anna picked up the frame, fingers trembling, softly as she gently traced Ethan's face through the glass, heart aching deeply with an almost unbearable quiet pain. She whispered softly, voice quivering gently, "How many memories have I missed, Ethan, simply because I was too afraid to speak?" Her question echoed quietly in the empty room, unanswered except by the gentle ticking of the clock, a cruel, persistent reminder of the time quietly lost. Anna sank slowly onto the sofa, still clutching the photograph gently to her chest, feeling profoundly alone despite the familiar comforts surrounding her. The jazz station played softly from her radio, melodies that once offered gentle solace, now amplifying her sense of quiet regret. Anna closed her eyes gently, memories of Ethan's quiet kindness rushing back vividly. She remembered clearly their countless quiet evenings together, the gentle warmth of his touch, the sincerity in his eyes, every quiet assurance she'd unknowingly ignored or quietly feared. Each memory now felt deeply bittersweet, tainted softly by the realization of what she had unintentionally sacrificed through silence. Tears flowed quietly down her cheeks, a gentle release of grief she'd long withheld, recognizing now that her fear of vulnerability had quietly stolen years she could never reclaim. She understood clearly, painfully, that Ethan's gentle forgiveness and quiet understanding, though deeply comforting, could never fully erase the quiet consequences of her choices. Silence, she'd learned gently but harshly, carried its own, hidden profound wounds. Feeling quietly overwhelmed, Anna moved slowly through the house, eventually pausing by her bedroom window, gazing quietly out over the moonlit lake. Her reflection, gently mirrored in the glass, revealed softly the quiet toll of her internal struggles. The subtle shadows beneath eyes tired from silent battles, the gentle lines now etched by regret and quiet sorrow. She whispered softly to herself, voice breaking gently with quiet grief. "I've hurt us both with silence, Ethan, but perhaps myself most of all." As she stood quietly reflecting, Anna felt the gentle yet relentless weight of regret settling firmly within her heart. In that moment, she knew clearly the cruel irony of her silence. The safety she'd so desperately sought had only quietly isolated her from true connection, from meaningful intimacy, from the gentle warmth of honest love. Anna moved softly back toward her bedroom, pausing gently beside her dresser, fingers brushing softly against a small box that had remained quietly untouched for years. Opening it gently, she found inside the delicate necklace Ethan had once given her, a simple silver pendant she'd quietly hidden away after leaving him, too painful a reminder of lost possibilities. Holding the necklace gently, Anna's heart clenched softly with quiet sorrow, acknowledging fully the true depth of her loss. Not merely Ethan's gentle companionship, but also the quiet loss of herself, the person she'd once been, the person she'd quietly abandoned when fear took hold. She sank slowly onto the edge of her bed, quietly placing the necklace carefully around her neck, feeling its gentle weight settle softly against her skin, a subtle yet poignant reminder of choices made, paths not taken. Quiet tears fell softly, mingling gently with a profound realization of all she'd quietly given up. Gatsby appeared quietly at her side, sensing gently her distress, offering quiet, unconditional comfort. Anna stroked his fur softly, whispering, gently through her tears, "Oh, Gatsby, I've made mistakes I cannot undo. How do I forgive myself for wounds caused by my own silence?" The gentle, rhythmic purring of Gatsby provided quiet solace, yet beneath his soothing presence lingered Anna's quiet certainty that some regrets, though gently acknowledged, might always remain quietly unhealed. As the night grew quietly, deeper, Anna lay gently upon her bed, eyes fixed softly upon the ceiling, heart quietly wrestling with truths she'd finally accepted, truths that quietly demanded acknowledgement yet offered no immediate relief. Ethan's gentle forgiveness had begun softly healing her, yet her heart quietly knew some wounds, created silently through her own fear, might always remain gently, quietly present. In that profound, gentle moment of vulnerability, Anna whispered, softly into the quiet darkness of her room, her voice trembling gently yet bravely, "I accept these regrets, Ethan, though they quietly break my heart. I'll carry them softly, knowing they are reminders of truths finally faced, truths that, though painful, might lead me gently toward healing." Have you ever faced regrets quietly carried for too long, finally accepting their gentle but persistent truths? Please share your story. Perhaps we can find quiet comfort in knowing we're not alone. Anna shifted softly beneath the covers, the gentle sound of rain beginning to tap softly against the windows, each drop quietly mirroring the quiet rhythm of her lingering sorrow. She closed her eyes again, willing sleep to come. Yet her thoughts continued to quietly drift toward Ethan, toward memories she had carefully locked away for years. The quiet irony struck her now. How diligently she'd avoided these memories, believing that forgetting would quietly ease her pain, only to find them waiting patiently, ready to resurface gently yet persistently when least expected. She could see clearly now Ethan's gentle smile on those quiet afternoons they'd spent together, hear softly the tenderness in his laughter as they shared simple, unremarkable moments she'd quietly undervalued at the time. Anna remembered vividly how Ethan had quietly comforted her after difficult days at the library, patiently listening as she softly expressed frustrations, gently reassuring her of her worth, never once pushing her beyond the quiet boundaries she silently established. In the gentle solitude of her bedroom, Anna felt a fresh wave of quiet grief wash softly over her, not merely for what she'd lost, but also for what Ethan had quietly endured through her absence. Her heart ached gently yet profoundly, recognizing fully that Ethan's quiet patience and kindness, qualities she'd admired most, had quietly magnified the pain of her sudden silence. The rain continued gently outside, each drop a subtle reminder of the tears she'd quietly withheld for years. Tears finally allowed to fall softly tonight, cleansing wounds she'd quietly denied even existed. Anna now understood clearly that healing required quiet acceptance. Not only of forgiveness from Ethan, but also from herself. She needed gently to face her own quiet accountability, acknowledging fully the truth she'd quietly hidden from herself. Her silence had quietly inflicted wounds deeper than she'd ever imagined. Anna turned softly onto her side, reaching gently to touch Ethan's necklace once more, feeling quietly comforted by its familiar presence. She knew deeply that some regrets could never be quietly erased entirely, but perhaps gently embraced and honestly acknowledged, they might lead softly toward genuine healing. Whispering gently into the quiet darkness, Anna finally allowed herself the honesty she'd quietly feared, saying softly yet firmly, "I promise you, Ethan, I promise myself. I will no longer hide behind silence. Whatever comes next, I will face it quietly but courageously, knowing clearly that truth, no matter how painful, is kinder than silence." Have you ever faced the quiet pain of regret, finally learning to accept it as part of healing? I'd love to hear your story. Perhaps together, we can find quiet strength in facing the truths we fear most. In the soft, quiet days that followed, Anna continued gently through her familiar routine, though now each step felt subtly different, as if tinged softly by newfound clarity. The ache she'd quietly accepted after her evening with Ethan lingered. Gently, yet within it stirred something else, a fragile but persistent sense of resolve, quietly urging her toward honesty and courage, no matter how uncertain her future appeared. One quiet afternoon at the library, as Anna methodically sorted returned books, a soft knock on her office door gently interrupted her thoughts. Turning quietly, she found Sophie standing shyly in the doorway, a small, gentle smile lighting her youthful face. Anna returned the smile softly, encouraging Sophie quietly forward. "Anna," Sophie began gently, clearly holding something carefully behind her back. "There's something I think you should see." Anna tilted her head curiously, setting aside her work and giving Sophie her full attention. "What is it, Sophie?" Wordlessly, Sophie stepped forward, carefully placing a small bundle of letters gently onto Anna's desk. Anna's heart quickened softly at the sight, recognizing instantly Ethan's handwriting on each envelope, her name penned gently and patiently across each faded surface. Where did you find these?" Anna whispered softly, her voice trembling slightly as she picked up the top envelope with careful reverence, its delicate edges worn gently by time. Sophie's voice remained gentle yet cautious as she explained softly, "I found them tucked carefully away in the archive room, hidden behind a stack of old periodicals. I wasn't sure if I should show you, Anna, but I sensed they might be important." Anna's eyes filled quietly with tears, her fingers trembling gently as she slowly sifted through the letters, counting quietly. 6 letters, each carefully dated over the months immediately after she'd left Ethan. Her heart tightened softly. With painful realization, Ethan hadn't simply accepted her silence quietly as she'd imagined. Instead, he'd patiently continued to reach for her, gently offering his heart again and again, despite receiving no response. Anna sat gently at her desk, Sophie quietly excusing herself with a soft, understanding nod, leaving Anna alone to face these newly uncovered truths. With gentle resolve, Anna opened the first letter carefully, her breath catching softly as Ethan's gentle words filled the quiet air around her. Anna, I'm not certain you'll ever read this, but I needed to write, to reach out, even if it feels as though my words might only drift quietly into silence. Your leaving hurt deeply, yet I believe your reasons are yours alone. Still, please know you remain quietly in my heart, and my love remains patient. Wherever you are, I hope you find the peace you sought. Anna's tears fell quietly, heart swelling softly with gratitude and grief intertwined. Ethan's quiet faithfulness and gentle persistence stood in stark contrast to the narrative she'd quietly convinced herself of, that he'd easily moved on, accepting her absence without true pain. Each letter opened quietly another layer of gentle truths she'd unknowingly ignored, each word softly shifting the quiet story she'd carefully constructed to protect herself. Opening the final letter carefully, Anna's heart stilled gently at Ethan's quiet words, dated 1 year exactly from her departure. My dearest Anna, a year has quietly passed, yet my heart still waits patiently. Perhaps foolishly, I've believed in second chances, that someday honesty might quietly find its way back to us. Yet, tonight, I write knowing I must gently set down hope. Not because I've stopped loving you, but because I need to free us both from waiting quietly in the shadows of silence. Wherever you are, Anna, I pray you've found peace. I forgive your silence, not because I fully understand it, but because love quietly demands such grace. Yours always, Ethan. Anna carefully folded the letter, gently pressing it close to her heart, quietly absorbing Ethan's final, gentle release of hope, a quiet yet profound act of love she'd never known existed. For years she'd carried quietly her assumptions, never realizing fully how deeply Ethan had quietly endured, patiently holding on to love even amidst unanswered silence. In the gentle silence of her office, Anna felt clearly the quiet magnitude of Ethan's love, understanding fully how deeply she'd misunderstood the gentle man she'd quietly adored. His letters changed everything, quietly rewriting their story, not one of quiet abandonment, but of gentle devotion and patient love hidden quietly within her silence. She never imagined that the truths she'd quietly feared most could gently become the truths she needed most to heal. That evening, Anna returned home slowly, each step gently guided by newfound clarity. Ethan's letters held carefully in her hands like fragile, treasured secrets. As she entered her cottage, the soft glow of the lamp seemed to welcome her quietly, casting warm, comforting shadows that gently contrasted the cool moonlight outside. She closed the door behind her with a soft sigh, moving quietly through the familiar space to the small desk beside her window, carefully placing Ethan's letters atop its polished surface. Anna sank gently into the chair, feeling the quiet weight of Ethan's enduring love surround her softly yet powerfully. Each letter a tender affirmation of truths she had quietly denied herself. Her fingers brushed softly over the envelopes once more, eyes filling gently with tears. Tears now born not merely of sadness, but also of profound gratitude for Ethan's patient devotion, for the quiet bravery he'd displayed by continuing to reach for her, despite silence. She gazed gently out at the lake, its calm surface softly reflecting the silvered moon, heart quietly wrestling with the quiet enormity of her newfound realization. Ethan's gentle persistence, revealed quietly through letters hidden for so long, shattered softly the misconceptions she'd silently carried. His patient love hadn't quietly faded away with her departure as she'd imagined. Instead, it had softly endured, quietly seeking her even when hope seemed impossibly distant. Anna realized softly now how deeply she'd misunderstood Ethan's quiet strength, mistaking his patience for passivity, his gentle acceptance for surrender. Her silence, intended gently to shield him from pain, had instead quietly inflicted wounds far deeper than she'd ever imagined. She'd unintentionally built a quiet barrier of assumptions and fears, preventing herself from seeing clearly the quiet courage Ethan had displayed all along. In the quiet solitude of her room, Anna gently opened Ethan's final letter again, rereading softly the words that had quietly changed everything. I forgive your silence, not because I fully understand it, but because love quietly demands such grace. His forgiveness, offered gently, quietly, without condition, pierced softly. Through the final walls of resistance she'd quietly maintained, Ethan's quiet compassion revealed softly the depth of her own fears, highlighting clearly the gentle courage required to forgive, to love, to offer grace without full understanding. Anna lifted Ethan's necklace gently from her neck, holding it softly in her palm, feeling clearly the gentle symbolism it now carried, not merely of regret, but of a quiet promise she'd finally made to herself. Her fears had quietly cost them both years they could never reclaim, yet Ethan's gentle forgiveness quietly offered her a path forward, a path toward genuine healing, honesty, and a life softly reclaimed through courage. Quietly, but resolutely, Anna picked up her phone, heart gently racing with newfound resolve, typing carefully yet simply, Ethan, I found your letters today. Words cannot fully express my gratitude for your patience, your courage, and your forgiveness. If you're willing, I'd love to meet again. This time, fully honest, no more silence. If not, please know you've quietly changed me, and I'll carry your grace forever. She pressed send, gently yet firmly, feeling quiet peace settle softly within her heart. Whatever Ethan's response, Anna knew clearly she had chosen courage over fear, honesty over silence, guided gently by the quiet bravery Ethan himself had modeled patiently through the years. In the quiet moments following her message, Anna stood, slowly, moving gently to her window, gazing once more at the moonlit lake, reflecting softly on the journey she'd quietly undertaken. Each gentle step had led her quietly to this moment, truths softly revealed, misconceptions quietly corrected, fears gently faced. Ethan's hidden letters had softly shifted everything, quietly rewriting their shared history. Not merely a story of loss, but of patient hope, quiet courage, and enduring love. Anna knew clearly now that life held no guarantees, yet, guided, gently by truth, courage, and grace, she could finally begin softly to heal the wounds her silence had caused. Whatever awaited her next, Anna understood clearly she would face it gently yet bravely, fully embracing truths she'd once feared, quietly accepting vulnerability as essential to genuine connection. Have you ever discovered a truth quietly hidden that changed everything you thought you knew? If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear your story. Perhaps together we can gently learn to embrace the truths that quietly guide us toward healing. Anna never imagined it would take hidden letters, quiet words patiently waiting in shadows to finally lead her gently back to herself, and perhaps back to Ethan. 2 weeks later, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, Anna stood softly by the edge of the lake, the gentle breeze rustling quietly through her hair, sunlight softly warming her face as autumn leaves drifted silently around her feet. The tranquil scene felt soothing, yet bittersweet, mirroring gently the quiet acceptance she'd gradually begun embracing over these past days. She had not heard back from Ethan, not yet, but within that gentle silence, Anna had found peace, knowing clearly she'd done everything she could to mend what had been quietly broken. The weight of silence she'd carried softly for years had finally lifted gently from her heart, replaced quietly by a calm, quiet acceptance that the outcome, whatever it might be, was no longer hers alone to determine. Anna breathed deeply, feeling the fresh, crisp air gently fill her lungs, eyes drifting softly toward the calm surface of the lake, its still waters quietly reflecting the changing sky. She remembered softly the first days she had come to this cottage after leaving Ethan, searching quietly for solitude, hoping gently to hide from the pain she'd caused. Now, standing here, she understood clearly how much she'd quietly grown, recognizing softly that solitude had become not merely a shelter, but also a gentle path back toward honesty, courage, and true acceptance. She glanced gently down at Ethan's necklace, now resting softly against her skin, quietly visible above. Her sweater. Anna had chosen quietly to wear it each day, not simply as a symbol of regret, but as a gentle, constant reminder of love she'd experienced deeply, truths she'd bravely faced, and wounds she'd quietly begun healing. It was no longer something she hid silently in a drawer, but something she gently carried openly, a quiet symbol of her own journey toward grace and understanding. Slow footsteps softly approached behind her, the gentle crunch of autumn leaves breaking quietly through her thoughts. Turning slowly, Anna felt her heart gently quicken, breath softly catching as she saw Ethan standing quietly near, his expression gentle yet cautious, eyes quietly searching hers for permission. She offered him a gentle, welcoming smile, heart swelling softly yet carefully, recognizing clearly the quiet bravery Ethan had also summoned to be here now, facing truths they'd quietly feared together. "Anna?" Ethan spoke gently, voice soft, yet deeply sincere. "I'm sorry it took me time to reply. I needed to find my own quiet courage first." Anna nodded softly, gently reassuring him with a quiet smile. "I understand, Ethan. I truly do." Stepped quietly closer, eyes gently holding hers, voice softly filled with quiet vulnerability. "These past weeks I've thought deeply about your silence, about mine, about the quiet space between us we've allowed to linger. Your message and finding those letters, it shifted something gently within me. I realized clearly how much we've both quietly misunderstood." Anna listened quietly, eyes soft with gentle understanding, heart softly aching yet deeply comforted by Ethan's honesty. He continued quietly, his voice gently hopeful yet deeply honest. "I don't know exactly what comes next, Anna, but I know clearly I don't want silence between us anymore. Whether as friends, as something more, I want honesty, openness, and gentle truths guiding us forward. If you're willing, I'd like us to find out gently together." Anna felt quiet tears softly gather, her heart gently filled with gratitude and tender relief at Ethan's gentle offer. "Yes, Ethan," she whispered softly, voice filled gently with quiet certainty. "I'd like that too." He smiled softly, eyes gently reflecting quiet relief and warmth. They stood quietly together, side by side, gazing gently at the peaceful lake, its quiet stillness now mirroring softly the gentle peace, quietly filling their hearts. Anna knew clearly that nothing was certain, that wounds from years of quiet, misunderstanding would take gentle patience and honest work to fully heal. Yet within this quiet moment, standing gently beside Ethan once more, she felt quietly hopeful, comforted deeply by the gentle possibility they'd quietly chosen to embrace together. After a quiet pause, Ethan softly reached for Anna's hand, gently intertwining their fingers, a quiet, meaningful gesture of newfound trust and honest connection. "Whatever happens, Anna," he spoke softly, voice gentle yet firm, "we'll face it together, quietly but bravely." Anna nodded quietly, gently, leaning into Ethan's comforting presence, finally feeling the quiet weight of solitude lift softly from her heart. She understood clearly now that courage was not always loud, not always bold. Sometimes courage was quiet, gentle, expressed softly through honesty, vulnerability, and patient trust. Together, they stood quietly, the afternoon softly fading into gentle twilight, neither certain of precisely what lay ahead, yet both quietly content to simply be present, embracing gently the honest peace they'd finally found. As evening shadows softly deepened, Ethan gently broke the comfortable silence, voice softly thoughtful yet deeply sincere. Anna, perhaps the greatest gift we've quietly found is this: the quiet courage to accept uncertainty, the gentle willingness to embrace truth, whatever it brings. I'm deeply grateful for that. Anna gently squeezed his hand, heart softly filled. With quiet joy and acceptance, recognizing clearly Ethan's quiet wisdom and gentle strength. Yes, she whispered softly, eyes reflecting gentle hope. Perhaps that's the true beauty we've quietly discovered, the courage to remain open, even amidst uncertainty, trusting softly in truths we can no longer hide. Have you ever reached a moment of quiet acceptance, gently realizing that sometimes courage means softly embracing uncertainty? Please share your story. Perhaps together we can find gentle strength in facing life's quiet unknowns. Anna smiled softly into the gentle evening, heart quietly at peace, knowing clearly that while their story was not yet fully written, they had quietly, bravely turned the page, stepping softly toward a future filled gently with honesty, openness, and gentle possibilities. She knew now that sometimes even quiet endings could gently hold within them the tender beginnings of something quietly, deeply beautiful.